Hello my darlings, welcome back to another video. Today I'll be doing a BillFord reading from Gravity Falls, Bill Cipher and Stanford. Today I'll be reading a touching story by pastel_writes101 on Wattpad. If you'd like to read along, you can go to the link in the description. As always, I have not read this full thing, so I hope it says it's completed. I'll believe, I'll take that at face value. It does have a mature marked on it, so if there's any inappropriate scenes, I will put a warning before at the beginning of the video and at the beginning of the chapter.
Bill, what can I help you with? Stanford flipped through his journal pages. He had once again hit a block and was frustrated. What can I help you with, Sixer? You seem tense. Bill's voice rang and a big smile appeared on the demon's face. Bill, are you in a human form? How the hell did you even accomplish that? Ford turned around, looking at the slightly smaller demon up and down. I just did, Ford. I'm magic, remember? Cypher's eyes glowed a bright yellow as he patted Stanford's head. Now, what can I help you with? He grabbed Ford's journal using magic to make them some tea. It's... Ford sighed. I can't solve this equation. Bill, can you help me? He opened up the blueprint, and Bill peered over. Oh yes, that is a tricky one, but I've seen it before. He touched it with his finger, and the answer appeared under the equation. There. Now have a cup of tea and play some chess with me. All you've been doing is working. He rested a hand on Stanford's shoulder, then walked to the floating kettle, picking it up and pouring in 2 cups of tea. Bill, I can't just stop working. He got cut off by the sound of fire roaring in the fireplace. I said join me. Bill handed him the cup and floated over to the fire, slowly moving down to a chair. Stanford sat in the chair beside him. He didn't like to argue with the demon, but why was he in a human form? And why was he so adamant that Ford take a break? Bill, can I ask you something? Bill raised an eyebrow, staring into his eyes. He never broke eye contact. Yes, Sixer? He grinned. Why do you want me to take a break? Is there something on your mind that you want to talk to me about? Stanford took a few glances away from Bill, finding it hard to keep eye contact with him. Cipher sighed and leaned back. I just think you need a break, Stanford. Consistently working on the portal has left you an insomniac. Yes, but... Ford started. We made a deal, Ford. You listen to me when I tell you to do something. And if I want you to take a break, you will. Cipher's eyes once again glowed. It seemed to only happen when he was angry, and Ford laid back in the chair, feeling uneasy yet comforted at the same time. Thank you, you're right. I've been overdoing it, and maybe the reason I can't finish work is that I'm tired. Ford, there's something else keeping you awake, isn't there? Cipher's voice overlapped as he spoke, and he almost sounded empathetic. Yes, it's nothing important, just nightmares. Stanford was confused by the sudden concern in Bill's face and voice. His mask of being all-powerful and scary slipped, and behind it was a warm embrace and smile. And of course, he'd never tell Bill that he thought of him that way. Stanford, all dreams mean something, and it's always a more deep-rooted issue. Just like any equation you've given to me, I can solve it. I keep seeing my brother, reliving the day that my father threw him out of the house. I just hope that wherever he is, he's okay. I feel guilt, Bill. And I don't know if you know what that's like, but it burns. It burns deep inside you until it's all you can feel. Stanford looked up at Bill, who was staring directly at him. I do understand those feelings. Guilt is one of the most powerful parts of emotion. It rides right next to your empathy. Ford, I'm sure wherever your brother is, he's okay. Bill moved his hand across and gently rested it on Ford's wrist that was resting on the armrest of the chair. You can always send him a postcard if you find out where he is. Thank you, Bill. Ford felt at ease, but a new feeling started the moment Bill had rested his hand on the man's wrist. What was that feeling? It was warm and soft, like a s'more near a campfire, or a cotton candy treat at the fair on a sunny day. Whatever it was, Ford knew it wouldn't be leaving him anytime soon. Chapter 1. Just stay there. Ford, I'm telling you this isn't a good idea. Bill stepped in front of Stanford outside of the bunker. He knew that the shapeshifter wouldn't be delighted to see the six-figure journalist. Even if he unfroze Bill, I can handle him. Ford sighed and rubbed his forehead in frustration. Bill, just step out of my way, please. Fine, Stanford, but I'm warning you that there's danger down there. Don't be an idiot. He stepped aside and rolled his eyes, watching for a remote to access the branch switch, and waited for the stairs to appear. He followed them down into a pitch black, which would normally scare people, but he didn't have a care in the world. He had been down there so many times and knew it was completely safe. So when he realized that the shapeshifter was still frozen, he walked right into where he was to grab some things he left behind the last time he was inside, which were a bottle of ink, research, and pictures of the shapeshifter. Then he heard a noise. Something massive was behind him, and he turned around to see a very large caterpillar-looking monster slowly emerging out of a hole. It let out an ear-piercing screech. Ford quickly ran down one of the tunnels, trying to find another exit to the stairs. Maybe he could loop around? But he ran into a dead end. There was no escaping back the way he came. He was hyperventilating as he tried to think of what to do. As the creature came closer, he spun around and screamed as he saw the monster approach, mouth open with rows of sharp teeth that were about to swallow him whole. Then something appeared in front of him, blasting the monster back through the hole he chased Stanford into. Stanford couldn't believe it. I warned you, Bill said, panting. He was angry, but in a way that made him look like he cared. I told you there would be something down here. He turned towards him and grabbed Ford's shoulders. Are you okay? Did it scratch you or bite you? He checked him over and slowly started to calm down after he realized that Ford was okay and had no cuts. But he did have a couple of bruises from slamming into things. Damn it, Ford! He sighed, and his eyes once red now returned to yellow. Bill, how the... He paused, then went quiet. Never mind. Thank you, Bill. I have what I need. Let's go home. Bill grabbed Stanford's arm, dragging him towards the stairs. He also kept an eye out for anything else dangerous. As they passed the testing room, he shot a few glances at the shapeshifter, who remained frozen in time. Once they got back up the stairs, Bill made sure to lock up the bunker. No more going in there. Ever. Okay. I won't go back inside Cypher. I promise. He walked inside the shack. Bill, I brought some research that you might like to read. He handed a notebook and a few pieces of paper to Bill. Oh, thank you, Stanford. Bill smiled lightly and sat down in the living room at the table where Stanford sat and watched some TV. Sixer, how did you get Shapeshifter anyway? Bill questioned. Stanford smiled and picked up his journal, opening it to the Shapeshifter's page. He hatched from an egg and turned into a coffee mug. He was so small back then, I didn't think he was ever dangerous. That was until he grew and started trying to get out of the bunker by turning into people that he saw or heard on my TV. I had no idea he hatched from an egg. I just thought he was a mutated mushroom. Bill shrugged and laughed softly. Bill, would you like some tea? Stanford asked, walking into the kitchen, starting up the kettle. Yes, I'd love some, Bill answered enthusiastically, and laid back in the chair. I'll take whatever's sweetest. Bill was specific when it came to his tea, and that was because he hated bitter things. He would only ever try sweet things. While they enjoyed their tea by the fire, Bill taught Ford some equations to pass the time, and Ford started to nod off. And once Bill knew he was asleep, he carried him into bed, tucking him in. He seems so beautiful when he doesn't talk, he joked to himself. He headed into the basement and drew out some blueprints to the portal, when eventually he ran out of ink for his pen. He had to head upstairs to get a new one. That's when he heard the whimpering. Bill looked up at Stanford's bedroom door and walked toward it, putting his ear to the door. Stanford squirmed and rolled in his sleep. He didn't get nightmares too often, but when he did, they were incredibly vivid. Bill slowly opened the door and walked towards him, gently putting a hand on his shoulder. "Ford, you're having a bad dream. Wake up." "What?" "Bill, I'm sorry. I think I was having a nightmare." He sighed and rubbed his eyes. "It's okay, Sixer. It happens to humans all the time, and as far as I know, you can't control it." He walked toward the door. "Bill." "Yes, Stanford?" Stay here, please," Stanford said, embarrassed, but Bill could sense the fear from Stanford of being alone. All right, Stanford, but since I'm in this body, it needs sleep too." He walked over and got into bed, pulling the blanket over them. "Just don't touch me or I'll cut off your hand, nerd." "Yes, of course, Bill." "Thank you." He laid back down and turned away, closing his eyes. Bill laid back against the pillows, staring at the ceiling. He was sitting mostly upright, and in the darkness, he felt something move close to him. After half an hour of him trying to sleep, Ford wrapped his arms around his waist in a deep slumber. Bill looked down and sighed softly, but he wasn't angry or annoyed like he said he would be. Instead, he pulled the man close and moved down a bit, closing his eyes. Nothing more than friends. An apprentice. Someone who doesn't matter to Bill. He could find any sort of smart guy to build him the portal. I think that's where I'm going to leave this episode off. Thank you so much for watching. We got a little bit of some, a little bit of bubbling, a little bit of, I'm gonna be so serious. I only really started shipping these two when the Book of Bill came out. I would be so dead ass. But you know what? I'm kind of like in love with this ship at the moment. Like, I'm obsessed with it. Of course, I started rewatching all of Gravity Falls just because of the Book of Bill, so yeah. I know I said I would start making videos a lot more than I have been, but at least I'm getting to it. This is just part one, of course, of this series. There's more of this fanfiction. But I also planned on reading a Husker Dust fanfiction from Haspin Hotel. And I was also maybe contemplating like a Deadpool x Wolverine one, because I'm like that, So if you made it this far and you are interested in those kinds of fanfictions, please let me know in the comments. I would gladly still do them. Stay tuned for part 2 of this fanfiction. It will be up sooner than later, I promise. And yeah, that's all from me today. Don't forget to drink water and love yourselves because I love you, darlings. Bye! Ford sat up in a panic. "What? Bill." Mosquitoes.
What can I help you with, Sixer? You seem tense.
What can I help you with, Sixer? You seem tense. What can I help you with, Sixer? You seem tense.
What can I help you with, Sixer? You seem tense.